Hey there guys, it's Petro, and look what we got here. Finally, man, I've been talking about doing this for like 8 years now, but we're finally soloing Mythic Plus dungeons. And this is the first time I've ever done it, ever, period. I've never even tried it outside like I did before. So if you didn't watch this is a long time ago now, man. I used to make videos on soloing Mythic Zeros. I only did about like 3 of them. It was pretty fun. And that was when my character was like 50 item levels lower. So now that this is my main, I can see me doing this a lot more. In fact, in this video, we're going to talk about possible soloing targets. But for now, we'll talk a little bit about the dungeon. I like to, since this is going to be so long, I'm going to talk about some non-related topics. But mostly we're going to stick on 3 topics today. Soloing this dungeon. And Mythic Pluses in general, let's say that. Mythic Pluses in general, especially in 7.2.5. Me switching to my Blood Death Knight from a Holy Paladin to a Blood Death Knight as a main. And what type of affordability that will give me in the soloing scene and dungeon scene. And then also what the possible targets are for soloing. And maybe some other things about the game currently, about tanking and stuff. So anyway, those are the topics we'll be talking about today, but we're going to start by talking about this dungeon, and this is +2 Halls of Valor, as you see. This took me 50 minutes, all right? Spoiler alert, I do not beat the time. I speeded it up to 30 minutes because it would be a 50-minute video if I didn't, so anyway, it's really, yeah, it's still not even that fast. It could have been faster, but regardless, I want to show it as true as possible. So you are going to see a near flawless run. In fact, this pack is the only pack where I even come close to taking a sizable amount of damage. So this leads me to believe that I could have easily done higher. And hopefully we'll talk about that too. But regardless, the whole situation here is that I expected this to be difficult. And I don't know why. Because I do fucking +15s and I do more healing than the healer does. So I guess I don't know. I shouldn't be surprised by this, but it is kind of surprising, right? That I could literally solo this dungeon. But things that I can't do is enough damage to beat the time. Now, luckily in 7.2.5, there's 2 things that are happening that are really exciting. And it got my mouth watering just thinking about it, okay? So one is that Blood Death Knights are gaining what appears to be a fairly sizable DPS increase. And if you've done dungeons with me in the past, or you've seen me play my Death Knight, you know that I push the damage pretty far. I like Blood's Death Knight damage model, but it's just not sufficient. You know what I mean? Blood Drinker does a good amount of single target, and with Dancing Rune Weapon up and an Old War Pot, I can do more damage. I regularly out DPS the DPS, just like I would on my Paladin. Now my Paladin would say do 2 million, where my Blood DK only does like 1.5 million, but still, you can push that limit with any tank, okay? That's something people didn't seem to understand when I talked about them. Talked about tanks in 5-mans. People said things like, oh, damage is all that matters in 5-mans. Warrior is better because they do high damage. Right, well, they may do, but all tanks have that potential. You just have to play smart. You have to have trinkets, you have to have gear and pots and opportunity to increase your DPS. It's the best way to do it as a tank, right? Because Blizzard's not going to help you. Some tanks do more damage, like, yes, Prot Pally and Prot Warrior do more damage than other tanks, and some do less tanks, like Blood Death Knight. But if you watch me, we don't have 3 tanks in a 5-man, so you can't actually compare it, but if you watch the damage I can do as Blood, it's already sufficient. So let's say that the nerf is going to be substantial for me, especially. And I think for all Death Knights in general, but I assume this will help a lot in raids. But one way or the other, this is awesome. I'm very excited about that. This is the biggest issue, and you see me testing the waters there a little bit. That basically confirms to me that this is going to be a complete joke, where that ability did not even do damage to me. Usually it one-shots people in higher Mythic Pluses. So anyway, and then the other thing that's coming in 7.2.5 is the Keystone change, and that is going to be even better for me, right? Because obviously the damage thing, like in the same situation, that damage buff alone probably means I can actually complete this timer. But it's not my key. It's Anulo's key. If you didn't see at the beginning of the dungeon, my uncle Anulo gave me the key, and then he left, and now it's depleted, right, because he left. But if I complete it in time, I don't know if he gets the key back. I don't know how this works at all. But regardless, it doesn't fucking matter, because in 7.2.5, I'm going to be able to do this with my own key, at least in theory. I assume, I don't know if anybody's actually been on the PTR and tried something like this, but if you have, let me know, please. But what I assume is going to happen is I'll get it like a 12 or something, and then I could just constantly not complete it, you know, just constantly leave, start the dungeon, leave, start the dungeon, leave, start the dungeon, leave, and eventually it'll go all the way down to a 2. Is that how it's going to work? If it works like that, this is going to be fucking awesome, because what it means is I'm going to be able to take my own key, which I almost never use anyway. Like, you see me pug a lot of dungeons. I very rarely use my own key unless it's something very good or we're doing it as a group anyway. You know, like people want to do a key. Well, then we could just keep pushing my key up again, and I could push it back down again if I want to solo stuff. So yeah, so I'm assuming I'm going to be able to do that, push it all the way down to a 2. And then this is what I plan on doing from there. Once I have a 2 on my Death Knight, I plan on doing it, trying to complete it as solo, as best as I can. And if I don't beat the timer, but I complete the dungeon, the key changes. So say I have Halls of Valor 2 like I do today. I fail the timer, but I complete the dungeon easily as I do. Then it becomes Black Rookhold 2. I'll go do Black Rookhold. Same thing, I don't complete the timer, but I beat the dungeon easily. Then I get Darkheart Thicket 2, and I beat the timer. Now, I have Neltharian's Lair 3. Try it again, don't beat the timer. Get Mauve Souls 3. Try it again, don't beat the... You know what I mean? So, it's going to be pretty interesting. But some things that could happen, which, you know, are unfortunate here, is that there are some dungeons that simply are not soloable. So that could, like, I'm fairly certain the Archway and Eye of Ajar still are not soloable. And that's because the Archway has a boss where you get stunned. Well, actually, as a Death Knight, I don't know. I haven't tried it as a Death Knight, but people were saying that that boss will just stun you permanently, and that's that. So if that's the case, you can't do that boss, can't complete the dungeon. And same with Eye of Ajar, the final boss will, I don't know. People were saying that you can't do it alone unless you have bubble or an immunity. I don't know. We'll see. But one way or the other, I'm pretty excited about this idea. The fact that at least seemingly I'll be able to do that. Well, sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. And this is all going to be in a patch where I'm getting more and more gear now because I'm going to be raiding on this character. The second topic there. I'm going to be playing this character as my main. So I'll be getting even better gear. I'll be getting 4-piece. You know, I'll have more access to legendaries, all that stuff because of raid. And I'll be able to do dungeons even easier now, which is awesome. This is a win-win for me because I love fucking dungeons on this character. Anyway, I am going to miss raid healing, healing on a raiding on a healer, but I think I'll enjoy tanking. I haven't done it in a long time. We'll talk about that in a second, but either way, the gear affordability is going to really push the limits here. So I almost wish I had more time to do this because this sounds like an incredible, yeah, this is something I would love to do. So, I'm excited for it, and hopefully you guys are too. If the Keystone thing works out as I expect it to, then this is going to become a lot of this is new content for me, and I once again cannot get enough of Legion at this point. So now, in terms of actually playing the character, why this has happened, I don't know if a lot of people are even interested in it, but if you've been here since the beta, you know, I think I was actually looking at some of the videos from the beta. I think Joshua, you were here since I remember you commenting on my Holy Paladin guide, which was 2 summers ago. That's crazy. But anyway, or I guess it was one, I don't know, it was a while ago. So yeah, if you guys have been here since the beta, you know that on the beta I try to cover a lot of tanks, but any raid content I did on my Paladin, and that was my main. And it's been that way for 8 years now. When I started playing WoW, I played a Prot Warrior, because I just thought, you know, I don't know, I thought a Dwarf Warrior was cool. I was like, oh, they're gonna be so cool. They have frost resist, and that's gonna be so neat. And it looked cool thematically, is why I picked for a Dwarf Warrior. But I had no idea what the game actually was until I started actually playing it and realized that tanking was probably the most complicated thing in the game at the time. So I wanted to heal instead. So I started leveling a Paladin. But, yeah, I didn't get it there until TBC, and then TBC came out, and I had to quit the game because of college. So I didn't play most of TBC, but then returned in Wrath, and wanted to play a healer as a raid, you know, a raid fixture. And I decided the only way people were not allowing me to get into guilds, so as a microcosm of problems, people are like, oh my god, I can't get into groups. So guess what? I just made my own guild. Just like I would tell you, make your own groups. I switched to dark here. I love the dark. Anyway. Instead of making your own group, make your own guild, right? So now, instead of being a fucking reserve in some random guild, I'm the raid leader. Just like Mitch Hedberg, man. I was lost in the woods, but now I live here. I've dramatically improved my situation. You know what I mean? So yeah, anyway, I decided Holy Paladin would be the way forward. I love their, like, bulky physical style. That's something that's always attracted me, literally since day one, even back in Classic, and that's still to this day why I like playing a Paladin in Classic. Because their class fantasy was exceptional in Classic. It's probably the best of any class has ever had. But their bulk was what I was always drawn to. Now, at the time, it was because of plate gear and the fact that they could wear a shield. They had much more armor and survival than any other healer on the planet. Like, it's not even a fucking question. Paladin was essentially a tank with healing options, you know what I mean? And then that kind of went away over the years. Like, by Wrath, it was pretty much no longer the case. They were getting, like, normalized by other mechanics, or by, like, other situations. And priests and stuff were getting more and more armor, and druids and stuff with Tree of Life, all that. And then, you know, we were actually losing our niche because there was no more physical things to take damage from. Like, you know, previously in Classic, there was mechanics that would actually hit you physically. And now it was just becoming all this magic damage, so it was becoming irrelevant. And then from, like, Mop through WoD, there was pretty much even less of it. And Mop, there was one nice point where I actually really enjoyed the armor I had. It was those bombs on Mythic. What was the tank in Siege of Orgrimmar? Can't remember the name of the... Oh, Iron Juggernaut. That's right, yeah. It was Iron Juggernaut's bombs, and they were physical damage. So with the amount of armor I had, I didn't even need to use a CD to soak them. I would jump on them, and I would survive with half health, where any other healer took them, and they get one shot. So yeah, I love that. That was why I was playing a Paladin. The healing model was kind of second for me, but I learned to love it. I learned to love, like, the big single target heals. And to this day, I still do, but I struggle with it. Frankly, I do not play Holy Paladin well. Since the expansion's been out, people have asked me, hey, why don't you make a guide? Hey, well, I would like to see some high-level Holy play. And I just don't do it because I can't do this. Like, I would tell you guys if I did, but I'm just not good at the spec. I'm really not. It's changed so many ways, and I've played it for so long that we're to a degree here there. I still have habits from Mop creeping in. You know what I mean? With spells that don't exist. Do you understand that? Like, it's changed in such a way. I mean, I've been playing it so fucking long. I've been playing it since TBC, where you had that thing where every time you use Holy Light, the next Holy Light was better or faster or something like that. I can't remember the icon. It looks like Stonehenge, but it's like this yellow icon. Anyway, it's changed so dramatically, it's almost unrecognizable, but it's actually really strong right now, incredibly strong, if I was able to play it well, but I just can't. And part of the reason I can't play it well is because I don't have the timing that is required to play Holy Paladin properly right now. I'm somebody who likes to, get in a mental groove and then focus on everything else. So I fancy myself a substantial, like, mechanical dominator, like somebody who never fucks up a mechanic, never dies. And part of that is because I'm a Paladin right now, especially. We have extra health, all kinds of defensive situations like bubble and all that. But I could also heal myself too. But I am somebody who, lol, why are you dead? You should never die. That's basically my mantra. And it's very frustrating, I'm sure, if you're raiding with me, but that's the way I do it. You know what I mean? Like, numbers are second. As long as everybody's healed up, you know what I mean? As long as we're not wiping because I'm not healing everyone up enough, fuck the numbers. Am I alive? Is the raid alive? That's all that matters to me. And I think, if we had that approach on all 20 players in our raid, we'd kill the bosses a lot faster. But it's actually not realistic, because if everybody was, sacrificing their DPS and HPS in order to just focus and make sure they never die, then we might not actually be able to kill anything. So I don't know. That's the way I look at it. And that's kind of why I've loved Blood as well, because they're not actually, like, they're not what they were in WoD, right? They're not able to do just ridiculous amounts of DPS, even though they can do a good amount. But I am not able to do that anymore on Blood. And that was what I was focused on prior. It was like, dude, fuck everything else. Just do as much DPS as possible. Do, 300k DPS on every pull and challenge modes. And that's all you need. You don't need a fucking survival. The healer's there to heal you. You know what I mean? Healers weren't doing any damage back in the day. They didn't have any type of AoE damage, really. So they effectively did nothing but heal in WoD, so that was good for me. But now we've come to a crossroads here. That doesn't work anymore on Paladin, and they've changed in such a way that I just can't get used to it. Whereas blood continues to be more and more attractive to me. So about 2 weeks ago, or maybe even more like a month ago now. Yeah, definitely about a month ago now. Officer in our guild, he's like, listen, Anulo's done. He just doesn't wanna. He's done. That's what I was told. He was done. And I was like, he's like, we got to figure out a tank situation ASAP. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do it. And it seemed like, you know, even now it's the only option really, because there's other people in the guild who would do it, but the thing about tanks is that you want the person to be, I don't know, you want to know what you're getting out of them. And there's no one else in the guild right now who I would know what I was getting out of them tanking other than me. And that's obviously because I am me. But I think it's the best thing for the guild right now. I don't necessarily think I'm going to love tanking. I love healing raids. I could heal raids all day, but it's second to my love for tanking dungeons. So hopefully I'll love tanking dungeons enough that even if I dislike tanking raids, it'll be awesome to continue to progress my DK in this way. And we won't ever be in a situation where I regret the change. Now, I have a feeling it's going to happen because, well, I don't know. We'll see. Right now, Blood DK is not the strongest raid tank. Let's put it that way. Probably the worst, honestly. And that's raised some concerns within, you know, especially the other tank, Morgan. He's another student a while. He's somebody I confer with a lot on these tier lists and stuff like that because he studies the game. He studies, you know, just like I do. So it's, yeah, I'm not surprised to hear him protest, and I wanted to switch to Blood. And then his initial concern was, well, if we're going from a Druid to a Death Knight, or the best tank to the worst tank, we're going to be in serious trouble. So he wanted to switch to Monk then because Monk was the second strongest. And he's like, if there's ever a situation where we need that ultra sponge tank like Anulo was on Bear, then we're going to be hurting, and it's going to be a big downgrade. But the more I think about it, I don't really understand why Blood is bad. I really don't. And I guess I can understand it's the mitigation thing. Like, that's the issue people are having. They're like, yeah, compared to Bears, they're taking like 3 times more damage. But I've said this a couple times now publicly. If you take 3 times more damage, but you heal for half of it, are you taking 3 times more damage? The way I said it, and then my healer in a guild, Vic, brought it up. He's like, you're effectively taking more damage in the damage taken stat, but subtracting it from the healing taken, or the healing done stat. And that's actually, I think, the way to look at it. Like, you got to add that healing in because it's only me. I'm only healing myself. You can't overheal on yourself as a fucking Blood DK, right? Because you put a fucking shield on yourself. There's very little overhealing you could actually do to yourself. So I don't know why they're so bad. I really don't. And I'm sure there's a lot of documentation out there. But it kind of worried me because then I joined the Blood Death Knight Discord, and like the Death Knight Discord in general, and there's like 5 dudes talking. That's it. And none of them are talking about actual shit that matters. And I was like, oh, shit, man. It's because nobody fucking plays them. That's it. It's got to be it. Nobody actually plays them. So I would love to hear about somebody who's, 8 of 10, or higher, like, 8 to 10 of 10, Mythic Nighthole right now playing a Blood DK. I'd love to hear about what you think the weaknesses are, and maybe if you disagree that they're weak. You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like compared to other tanks, they probably are weak. Like, especially, comparing to Druid and Monk, they have no chance of comparing to that. But people say things like, oh, they're terrible. It's like, well, terrible. I played WoW for a long time, man. There's been terrible tanks, okay? There's been specs that have been so bad that they were not specs. I don't feel like that's the case in Legion for anything. Like, you could play any spec of Mage, any spec of Rogue, any spec of Hunter, any spec of anything. You're going to do well. Now, you may not do as good as everything else, but still good enough to do progression rating on, right? So that's the way I feel about Blood. I am very excited about the healing potential. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm somebody who likes to break rules in the game a lot. If you watch me stream or play WoW for a while, you know that that's the way it is. It's just something I love to do. So I'm actually really excited about being able to hopefully break some rules as a Blood DK. Like, you know, with upward, I already have 15 million health with Vamp Blood up. If I can get, you know, the blood drink or soul drink or whatever it's called, the golden trait, if I can get that up pretty high and use Vamp Blood, I already have over 15 million health. You see it a few times in the video right there. So yeah, it's nuts. It's pretty cool, and that's with a full damage focus, right? So now obviously a tanking focus is going to make me even more bulky. And, you know, I don't know about like stam trinkets or anything like that, but regardless, I do have the bracers now, which are going to be incredible for actual raiding. I don't use them for 5-mans because I like Cephas better. But regardless, I have, you know, a pretty good setup on my Blood DK. So I'm like interested in testing the waters, but all I've done so far is Heroic Nighthold because we're still doing progression on our mains from Nighthold, like our previous mains. And then a couple more, like 1 or 2 more weeks, and then we're going to switch to just doing Mythic on our new characters and, you know, eat the difference. Like, if it means that we can't kill some bosses or that we wipe a ton, then that's fine. We just want to get prepared for Tomb of Sargeras now at this point. Nighthold's effectively over, unfortunately. It was a great raid. Fucking great raid. But I'm very excited about moving on. Tomb of Sargeras looks like it's going to be even cooler. I love the Tomb of Sargeras. Like, basically, Tomb of Sargeras is like Black Temple and TOT in its scope, how they have this. You kind of go in the front door, then you realize you can't do anything once you're in there, so you have to go down the sewers type area. You know, shit like that. It's going to be fucking awesome. I'm very excited for this. But anyway, that's it. So that's why I've switched to Blood. I'm very excited about it. Hopefully, I'll love it. I think I will. And, you know, if you guys have any things that you think are bad about Blood, like especially with Tomb of Sargeras in mind, let me know. But otherwise, what we're going to talk about now is the potential of soloing. So now, like I said, we did the 5-mans. I plan on doing, you know, more 5-mans, more Mythic pluses. My timer is definitely in my mind. And as you see here, I don't miss it by a lot, but it's just boss DPS, and DPS in general, obviously. And I don't use, I don't have Bloodlust. That's another thing. If I brought drums, I think I probably would have beat the timer. But regardless, I don't do enough damage one way or the other. So that needs to change. And I think it is going to change in 6.2.5 regardless. So +2 will definitely be doable easily even now, but it'll be even easier. This same dungeon that you're watching, I would beat the timer in 7.2.5. I keep saying 6. But regardless, pretty excited for that. But I don't want to just do dungeons. Let's do fucking raids. So me and Sy were talking about it. He thinks you'd be able to solo Heroic Emerald Nightmare. Now, I'd probably start with normal. Or you know, just normal raids in general. In fact, he was saying that people were already soloing a normal Nighthold. Did I say Emerald Nightmare? I meant to say, if I didn't, Emerald Nightmare. And then, you know, I would try Nighthold. But the problem is, I have a feeling there's going to be bosses that you simply can't solo. Like, I could already think or Trial of Valor, you can't solo the first boss, right? You have to... somebody else has to taunt. You're not going to be able to survive the damage. He does that crazy shit, right? But I don't know. Maybe not. Anyway, I would like to try it. So that's another thing. Has anybody actually tried soloing raids? I think it's very doable, especially Emerald Nightmare. I don't think they have any enrage timers, and normal basically has like half the mechanics that Heroic does. So I think I will do it, and I'll give it a try. And the funniest thing, that when I started soloing these things, like when I started doing the... I did the normal mythics back then. I said, how fucking awesome would it be if I got a huge upgrade on screen while doing this, right? Because it's totally possible. With the Titan Forging system or the Legendary system, I could actually get something out of this. Now, of course, I could do it 20 times faster with a full group. But it would be awesome to say, yo, check this out, man. I got a 925. From fucking soloing a Mythic +2. Or, check it out, I got my second best in slot Legendary from fucking soloing Nathendra normal. You know, it'd be so awesome to say that. So, I don't know, we'll see. I don't have huge expectations of that, but I definitely will be trying that at some point. It's just the time, man. I'm so all over the place with time. It's so difficult to get anything done. Like, to actually play the game and then do all these things as well is very difficult, but... we're doing arenas right now. We're doing I'm doing that leveling challenge thing, which I would have done the previous day. I'm uploading this on Thursday, but on Wednesday I will be doing that. And I'm going to try to get more soloing content in, but then I still obviously need to actually do Mythic Pluses like regularly, like push high keys, and then it's raid time, and then I want to still make the Pokemon game. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. And I basically, unfortunately, just stopped playing Breath of the Wild because of it, but Anyway, it's a good time. It's a good time to be watching the channel. Let's put it that way. So I'm pretty excited for that. If you guys are have any experience on any of this matter, let me know. Like I said, anything that that you think I could solo, I would like to try. Or if you know of reasons that I definitely can't solo something, like a mechanic, not like my gear, there's no way you'll survive, bro, kind of shit like that, you know what I mean? I was soloing dungeons on the beta when I was fucking 830 on Blood, so I feel like that's the situation right now. Blood effectively cannot die. You would have to be in serious trouble for them to die. You'd have to be doing like, I think like heroic Nighthold would be to the point where I probably can't survive the damage alone anymore. But even then, I would be able to survive it for quite a while. Like you're seeing plus 11s and 13s and shit like that. And I'm soloing like the last 25% of the boss half the time. You know what I'm saying? So raids are obviously a lot more stringent in terms of the damage incoming, but it's not that much worse, right? It really isn't. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. I hope to try it. I think at some point I'll start with Knight and Nathendra. And if I can beat Nathendra, then obviously we have a bunch of options. Ursak probably is going to be very difficult, if impossible, because of the different debuffs. But I think Eternal Renfarel or whatever should be easy. I probably can't do Il'gynoth, right? Because the eye has to be killed. Like, it's not something I can just chip away at. I have to go in there and burst it down. So I don't know if I can do enough damage to do it. I don't know, is there an enrage in that fight? I really have no idea. We've never fought the eye for more than one phase, basically. Even as far back as Heroic, we were potting to just make sure it was still one phase, you know? So I don't know. But I think it's a cool little idea. So, you know, between the dungeons, like I said, we're going to definitely be doing the dungeon stuff. I'm very excited for that. I hope to make a whole live stream out of that. I can already see myself live streaming it. So it's going to take a while. The problem is, you know, I'm only going to get like 3 dungeons in a live stream. But, you know, I'll do a 2. If I can progress it to a 3, we'll do a 3. If not, we'll do a different 3, do a different 3, eventually progress to a 4, do a 4, eventually, you know, that's the goal. Like, just keep working until I could say I've soloed a +7 alone. And that's the difference. Like, getting given a +7 and doing it is probably possible. But the Keystone system is made in a way that you're supposed to progress through them, right? So I would like to very much say that I've progressed through from a 2 to a 7 and I completed the 7. How fucking badass would that be? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, we'll see. They are changing dungeons again in 7.2.5. They're making them harder again. They're making the health and damage and stuff, like the passive, you know, like the passive scaling, they're making it harder. More, I think it's going from 8% per level to 10% per level. And that's actually a pretty big deal because people are already doing like 15s easily. So yeah, what's that? I mean, that's like 30% harder, I think, unless I'm an idiot. Maybe I'm an idiot, but regardless, it's substantially harder. And then, you know, people are going to be pushing like 20s and stuff easily in the current situation. 20s would be like a complete joke once you're in Tomb Gear. So now hopefully 20s will be a little bit more of a challenge because, you know, every level it goes up, the more and more health and damage that are gained by buffing it this way. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm very excited about Tomb of Sargeras, guys. You know, I've not been excited for a raid like this in a while. Nighthold was very cool. I was excited for it, but there's like kind of like a breath of fresh air in my lungs right now because the whole Switch thing. Like, it's really interesting. If you ever get bored of this game, just try playing something else for a little bit. It's substantial. Like, it's nothing to sneeze at. It really isn't. I'm very happy with Legion. There's almost nothing that I had complaints about, but Holy Paladin wasn't. I love the fact that they can do a lot of damage, and some of the way their kit works is great, but the timing of Holy Paladin, I just never got down, and it's because I'm stuck in past habits. I just can't break them. I've played the class too long. So Morgan said this will be a great opportunity for me because it's really a win-win. I'm basically taking a break from the game without taking a break from the game, because for me, the whole game has been playing my Paladin. I have over 2 years played on my Paladin. Do you understand that? So this is going to be the first time I've ever not played my Paladin, seriously. And even if it doesn't go well, like, that's what he said. Like, even if it's a complete disaster and 3 months in, I just can't tank anymore. I have to switch back to a healer. In that time, I would have broken, like, the mental, like, the cookie cutter mentality of Paladin, and I would approach it from a new, fresh angle, like I'd be relearning it. So it's actually going to help me switching. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any comments on the things we talked about, please let me know. I don't know why I'm a female Valkyrie right now, but anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.